Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to iHartSports Power Ranking Edition. I think we're week 7, 8. Who knows at this point? It's Labor Day weekend, just come to an end. It's Monday night. The Colorado Padres game's still going on 0-0, but wanted to get this out so that we're up for Tuesday. A lot of the series kind of went over to this extra day, so I wanted to include it in the Labor Day weekend update. Overall, I don't have any notes. I'm kind of just winging this one, seeing where we're at. I update this every day, so just based off that, we're gonna rip through it. We got a new bottom team. No longer the Pittsburgh Pirates. We got the Texas Rangers, and really, there's not much to say. Ever since they complained about the Padres Grand Slams, they've just been getting smashed. I think this weekend they got swept 4 games by the Mariners. Pretty much, at least the Pirates are putting up fights some days. So we got new number 30, Texas Rangers, last place. That moves the Pirates up to number 29. Like I said, Pirates at least pulling off some wins. I think they won yesterday with Chad Cole on the mound. And they at least put up some fights on most nights. So giving it a little bit of an edge to them. Number 28, got the Red Sox. Red Sox have given up this year by the most part. They put up a lot of offense with the Jays. I think they took 2 from the Jays, but at the same time, they're continuing to really not care. Their pitching is awful. Their bullpens are awful. Their season's over, and they know it, and they're not even trying at this point. Next up, Washington Nationals. I think we talked about them last week. They're out of the playoffs at this point. Max Scherzer is pretty much the only highlight. Got them a win today. But other than that, Juan Soto hasn't really been playing. He's hurt. Yeah, not much to like about the Nationals. They won last year. It's going to be a tough road ahead for them. Hopefully, when they get some injuries back next year, they'll do a little bit better. Number 26, got the Arizona Diamondbacks. NL West, they've just underperformed this year. Zach Gallen's basically the highlight of this team at this point. Their offense has been crap. They've traded away a lot of their players. Pitching's been and really 26 is pretty optimistic of them. They could easily be a little bit further down. But given their tough divisions, I'm giving them a little bit up there. But again, like the other teams in the bottom, they're out of it. Number 25, and a little bit of a drop, Kansas City Royals. Got handled by the Chicago White Sox this past weekend, and they're kind of done. Their pitching's starting to get caught up. Their offense has slowed down. They're not really putting up the fights that we were used to seeing at the beginning of the season. So safe to say they're eliminated at this point as well. Probably in the bottom tier of the league. No surprise there. The fights are over though, so got them in the bottom row. Eliminations are starting to creep up. I know we talked about it last week. This team was eliminated, but still think they're a little bit stronger. Mike Trout, what was it? He had his 300th home run. They at least have some offense. Bundy, a little bit of pitching performances here and there. 500 week. I just put them ahead of these teams. However, they're still eliminated at this point. We're still out of eliminated teams. And I'm adding these guys to the list. Cincinnati Reds. What a poor week. A week where they needed to have a good performance. They just didn't do it. And realistically, I think they're out of it at this point. I did the National League playoff race video a couple days ago. They didn't even make it as one of the 4 teams outside looking in. So I think it's safe to cut the Reds off at this point. Poor season. I know way underachieved. Not much else to say from that. 22, Milwaukee Brewers. Now Milwaukee is they're in the hunt. They're still in the set. When I did the NL race preview, they actually had a playoff spot. But I have them here because I believe the teams ahead of them, especially in the NL, have a better chance of taking that seed than them. Their pitching has really been the highlight of this team and keeping them in the hunt. Their offense has not woken up yet, and we're getting to that point. It's too little, too late. They have a pretty tough schedule down the stretch, so being matched up with the Central, they're going to be playing a lot of the topper teams. So unless they have 60, 70% wins down the stretch, I expect them to be eliminated within the next week or two. Next up, this team's probably eliminated. 21 Seattle Mariners. However, I like the way they've been playing. I want to give them some props. They swept Texas. They beat Dodgers earlier in the season. They're always fighting, and I like that with this team. I think there's some promise for them going ahead. D. Gordon changed his name to Strange Lee Gordon or whatever this week. But yeah, I think Mariners fans, even though they're very realistically eliminated from playoff contention, maybe a Brewers should be here if we're looking at it that way. But I think the Seattle Mariners better team than the Brewers at this point. Leaves us to number 20. It's going to start getting a little interesting here. New York Mets. I have them there ahead of Brewers. They're in the playoff race as well. Having a chance to beat Philadelphia this past day, and they kind of blew it up. Extra innings, they lost. Their starting pitching is really what's kept them. DeGrom, pretty much the Cy Young candidate that they need, but they just can't seem to get anything else together. Mind you, they are in the hunt, and they're going to be playing a lot of teams, so the fate is in their hands at this point. Give them 20, chance to make the playoffs, which would be up 16, so they're fighting. That leads us to number 19. They got the Detroit Tigers, a little bit of a drop from last week. And really, they had about a 500 week. And if they're going to have a chance at the playoffs, we broke down the American League playoff race earlier video last week. Go back and look at it if you haven't seen it. They were the 9th seed at the time. However, 10th seed Baltimore has been a little stronger. They've not been able to really beat the teams that they need to be if they're going to be a playoff contender. And very often they're a huge underdog when it comes to the books. So I think most people are thinking they're going to not make it. And at this point, it's looking like the top 8 in the AL is very concrete at this point. I got number 18. Interesting. Okay, like I said, I'm doing it on the fly. Got the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, another team. They're second in their division right now, but based on how they're playing and their bullpen, I don't think power ranking wise they're a playoff team at this point. They squeaked by the Mets, and that's why they're above them. But we're gonna get to some teams that technically they're ahead of right now, but down the stretch, I don't know if they're gonna be able to hold these teams as they charge up. And one of those teams, San Francisco Giants, another win today for them. Giants continue to play unexpectedly out of their skull, about 50% wins, but they're in the hunt. They're in the hunt for a wild card with one of these other teams, the Colorado Rockies, number 16. I got them right on the edge. Colorado's playing Padres right now, like I said, 0-0, but they played the Dodgers very strong this weekend. And when I did the NL playoff video, the race, I kind of counted them as saying they had one of the tougher schedules down the stretch because of the Dodgers, because of the Padres. But if they can beat these teams, then they're going to edge in. But they are, in my mind, the better team. But given their schedule and that down the stretch and that good start they had, probably because they had the easier schedule, they're right on the borderline. All these teams fighting for the spots, including this next team, number 15, Miami Marlins. Big win today for the Marlins. Tampa Bay Rays took them on, continue to play 500 ball. They were in a playoff spot too when I did that video. So technically I'm going to kind of edge them out of Phillies at this point, that they'll eventually overtake the Phillies, take that second spot in the division. Something to look optimistic about. Their pitchers are really doing it. We're 14. They're a little high, but the Orioles, a lot of this has to do with the way the AL East is coming down right now. It's coming down that second spot is really up for grabs. And that's because the Yankees have fallen apart. Orioles, did they sweep the Yankees? I can't remember if it was this week they swept them. They at least won the series against the Yankees. So that's something to be very excited about. They're in the hunt. When I did the breakdown, they were a little bit furthest out, but since then, they've won. So, got them at 14 for now. And it really has to do with This next team, 13, Yankees. Big drop for the Yankees. And today they played the Blue Jays. They gave up a 10-run inning when they were leading. And really, these injuries are really starting to affect the Yankees. They're almost a 500 team now. They're really fighting to even hold on to a playoff spot. It's been a quick fall for them, but you can't really blame them too much considering the injuries they've had to suffer through. If they can hold on until some of these guys get back, make the playoffs in a 3-game series, they're probably a pretty big favorite. But they need to start winning because time is running out and they're heading in the wrong direction. And if they're not careful, one of these teams are going to hop them for that last playoff spot. Number 12, got the Toronto Blue Jays. What can you really say? The Blue Jays have, at least offensively, been huge. You can almost count on them to score 7-8 runs a day, at least this past week. Putting up a 10 spot against the Yankees, putting up double digits against both Sox. If it wasn't for their pitching, they'd be a little bit higher, but they tried to bring in some pitching help. Stripling had his first start, Ray had his first start. Both did not look super well. If they brought those two pitchers in to be the answer, then that's probably not going to work out for them. But as for now, the Jays, they're winning. They're second in the division now, passing the Yankees. Quite a bit of a lead on the O's, I think at least 3 games, so it's a good spot for them. Number 11, the St. Louis Cardinals. Still somewhat hard to gauge how the Cardinals are. Played a lot of doubleheaders, a lot of games back compared to some of the other teams, but again, it's one of those situations. They're second in the division. They just had a pretty successful series against the Cubs where they won more than they lost. There's some doubleheaders in there. I still give the edge to the number 10, the Cubs. They've been going the whole season. They've had the pitching throughout that's really getting it done. So give them a slight edge at this point. But down the stretch, those two are going to be fighting for the division lead. You can count on it. Number 9, the Atlanta Braves. Braves are pretty much clear favorite to win the AL East at this point. Pitching's really what's keeping them out of the top row. Kind of finished. They got Max Fried, who's been having an amazing season, but other than that, they really need someone else to step up. But this is one team where we've really noticed that the bats are really carrying them. Much like the Blue Jays, the Atlanta's having that same kind of success. Number 8, the Minnesota Twins. They're winning, they're losing. Their division is really tough, and they're number 8th overall in my power rankings, but they're 3rd in the AL Central. So that's only going to be as good for a wild card spot. So Twins coming into a 3-game series, they might be at a disadvantage facing some of these teams that are going up against them. Hopefully for their sake, they can kind of climb, but they're starting to fall out of the top 2 here and falling a little bit farther behind in the race. Number 7, the Houston Astros. I think this is one of the quietest successful teams so far this season. They've been quietly winning. Got quite a stranglehold on second place in that division. Who are they playing right now? They're playing the A's right now, and they have lost last I looked for today. So not going to make ground on the teams ahead of them, but they seem to be handling the teams behind them. So good for number 7th. First time making the top row, we have the Chicago White Sox. And what can we say? They're demolishing lefties, 13-0 against lefties so far this year. They handled Kansas City, which a team in the top row is supposed to do. And they're top in the AL Central, so can't ignore that. And that's why we have them number 6. Number 5, got the Padres. The San Diego Padres. 5th last week, 5th this week. Not a lot of movement in the top 5 because, honestly, the teams just won for the most part. No one had a poor week. So the top 5 stayed pretty much the same. Clevenger had his first start for the Padres. Got the loss, so we're looking to see how he's going to rebound from that. But overall, I think the Padres really are the 5th best team. Unfortunate for them, they're going to be pretty much locked in the 2nd place in the division, pretty much set up to play the Dodgers in the 2nd round of the playoffs. But it's the way it is. Number 4, I got the Cleveland Indians. Even though they're in 2nd in the division, I think they're 1 game back, maybe half a game back. They might even be tied at this point. I'm not looking at it too closely, but I just think, given their pitching, their starters have been amazing. If they can get past a 3-game series, they'll be a very good team that can play 7-game series. As much as their offense has struggled this season, I don't think they're as bad as the numbers indicate. They have a lot of good players, and honestly, they should be pretty happy with how their season's been going so far. Number 3, Tampa Bay Rays. Rays continue to win. Top of the AL East now. Pretty much got a pretty decent gap from the Jays. They've beat the Jays more of all the series this season. They've beat the Yankees in their series. I'm not sure how they're doing against those. I'm sure they've won. 3rd place, I was ready to move them into 2nd, but I couldn't because 2nd place is the A's, and the A's just they've continued to win since coming back from COVID. They got shut out of their very first game back. Didn't hold it against them though, so now they're winning. Still 2nd best team, I think, in the league, so you can't really argue with that. And as per usual, staple at the top of the list, we got the LA Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Kershaw, you name them, they're there. And that's it. That's where we're at as of Labor Day weekend coming to an end. If you were taking a look here, probably from 10 to like 20, it's up in the air. Like, these two are like gonna make the playoffs. The AL East, like, there's 3 teams here. Only 2 of them are gonna make it. And right now, this is the strongest team. We're looking here. We got San Fran, Colorado. They're racing for that wild card spot because Padres and Dodgers, they pretty much got locked up. So can they both make it in? It's possible. We got Phillies, we got Mets, we got Marlins, all racing for that 2nd spot in the AL East. The other team might get the wild card. We have the Brewers on the outside looking in, and honestly, the Mariners are on a streak. I haven't looked closely enough lately, but they must be getting close to the Tigers. And then anything after this, their season's over. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I have totally wrong, what I might be missing for some of these teams. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.